Okay, I'm going to show you how to kind of navigate your way around SPSS. This is the class data file. If you will grab this from Blackboard, download it, and open the file, then you will see in the variable view, you will see the names of the variables, what kind of variables they are. They can be numeric, or string is when you actually have words in there. And those are the only two that we'll be dealing with. Sometimes when you import data or open it, a file that you didn't create, sometimes it'll have decimal places and you may or may not want them. You can simply click on the cell and either add or take away number of spaces after the decimal. Sometimes there are data labels here, and you can type in data labels to be more descriptive of what the variable is. It's a good idea because while you may be familiar with the data set at the time, later on you might forget, so you can put words in here to describe what each of the variables are. Data value labels give you the ability to record what each of the number values mean. And so, for example, here the number 1 in cohort, which is a variable, represents cohort 3 because they're in their first year. Number 2 represents cohort 2 because they're in their second year, and number 3 represents cohort 1 because they're in their third year. And so if you wanted to add an additional cohort, you would add the value there and you would add the label here. So but we don't have one, so we're just going to leave that alone. We're not going to use this right now. These are very important when you have your own data set, and if these are not labeled properly, you simply click on the right and it allows you to change the scale from nominal, ordinal to scale, which is interval. So it's important for the variables to be in the right scale. So this is all the variable view, and if you click over here you can see the data view. You can also go to a specific variable by double clicking on that variable. So for example, if I wanted to go directly to test 8, I would double click on test 8 and I'm in that column now. So let's begin with the cohort number, and you can see that in this file there are only numbers. There are no words in here in the data, and you can tell if you scroll down that there are 300 cases in the data set. You can, if you choose to sort, you just simply right click on the variable that you want to sort, and you can sort ascending. This is the output file. We'll talk about that in a little bit, which sorts them in ascending order, of course, or in descending order. You can do this for any of the variables. You can also, if you choose to, move the variables around by simply clicking on them and dragging them. You'll know that you're ready to drag it because you'll see that little red line. Okay, and it's simple enough to switch between the data view and the variable view. That's all you do is click there. Here is your menu, and we'll talk about the menu, and there's some icons for some of the menu items. Now, you just saw when I sorted, you saw the output file come out. Now, the data file is always red, the output file is blue, and what we will use later, the syntax file, will be orange. So in this data file, you can see in the data view the data, and then in the variable view the variables. But you can also save the file with only particular variables, which is nice sometimes if you have a huge data file and you want a smaller data file with only certain variables in there. You can also save it in different formats. For example, if you wanted to use this in Excel and you didn't want it in SPSS, you can actually save them as Excel files. But also you can save them as Stata or SAS files, which are other statistical software programs. So when you're done with the data set, or when you make any changes to the data set, such as sorting, you'll see a little asterisk here. That's anytime you make a change to the data set, you'll see an asterisk. And the reason why it puts an asterisk is because you've made a change to the file. And so you can choose to save the file, or you can leave it alone. I don't want to overwrite what I have here, so I'm not going to save it when I close it. But if you do change something, don't just automatically hit save. Make sure it's something that you actually want to save. So for example, you may not have wanted to sort, so don't save it. And when you're ready to close the file, you can just close it here, or close it there, or you can just exit.